Let's take a break. Coffee break, that is. Mura ng cafecito.
Glad you're able to join me for today's coffee break with the peace, man. Today we're going to look at, and I know that you're interested in, becoming a better leader. So today we're going to take a look at and tackle leadership development versus leadership training. And the way I look at it, I truly don't like to call it training because training basically dictates a very specific way, or it tells me that it's a very specific way to becoming a leader versus development. Right, development helps you to improve and build your capacity to learn a new skill, right, or improve a skill. Whereas training keeps, an organization's status quo in a way of doing things, and development really allows you to look for something bigger, something greater. It allows you to go after innovative ways of doing things. Development focuses on the future, while training focuses on the past, right? Because it's already been an established way of doing things. Um, and development allows you to think beyond the way, or beyond yourself, or beyond the way of doing things a certain way, but allows you to grow and allows you to use various styles, various ways, various modus operandi, whatever you want to call it, right? So I will always call it leadership development versus a training. And I think I would encourage anyone who is in the leadership field, um, when it comes to working in community, uh, that we focus on the development of people's leadership skills rather than training them to do things a very specific way, because all of our communities are different, right? Unless, training is more for an institution like a factory, or a place where you have to have repetitive motions, actions, interventions to get the job done. Uh, and working in communities, and working, even in institutionalized governmental organizations, that we need to develop people's skills in order to do the job better, so it fits that audience, right? So that's the way that I look at leadership, again, as leadership development rather than leadership training. So I'd like to define leadership, and I think that you have your views, or you have your thoughts, your ideas about what leadership is, what leadership look like, what leadership tastes like, what leadership smells like. Uh, but I like to define leadership as uh, taking responsibility to ensure that things go right for you, that things go right for your job, or your program, or your family, or whatever, your club, your team, whatever you're involved with, and that you ensure that things go right for your community, right? So it's a three-tiered area, or three-tiered process, or three-tiered level that I look at, when it comes to this. So it's ensuring that I take responsibility to ensure that things go right for myself, my family, my program, my job, whatever, and then ultimately the community, right? So looking at those three key areas. Um, and I use, and have, for the most of my career, have used a social change model when it comes to leadership development, because number one, you have to focus on personal development, right, in order to become better at what you do, build your skills and your capacity to understand issues in order for you to have an impact uh, on whatever it is that your goals are, or your outcomes are. Uh, Also, having and learning group influence. How can you, or how do you influence others to do the work, or outcomes that you want or need, right? And then to round it off, in the social change model, we have to look at What is our impact? What is our impact on our community? What is our impact on, whatever it is that we're trying to achieve, right? So, uh, in using the social change model, and the social change model for leadership development always focuses on growing as a person, right? Your own personal development, the influence that you have over others, and in the groups that you're working with, and then of course the impact that you're having on community. And leadership development is I like to say, as a house, or as you're building the house, right? You need to have a very strong foundation, right? That's building your understanding of um, of what it is that you want to do, but you must start with a strong base. You must understand what you're working with, right? So build a strong foundation, and as you're building, your house is going to have windows, right? Because you have to have an open mind. You still have to see and have a vision, in order for you to complete your mission, right? But never forget that a good home should have a fireplace, right? Because you, along the way, you have to be empathetic. You still have to be warm, and you still have to be caring, and you have to be mindful of life, and you have to be mindful of issues that impact us as humans. We are emotional beings, right? So make sure that you have your strong foundation. Make sure that you have your windows, and make sure that you have a fireplace, right? But most importantly, understand that like a house, you can't be a good leader, or you can't develop your skills in one day, and you can't build a house in one day. That it's one brick at a time, right? And it takes time. But all that being said, if that is not built in, or you don't have a blueprint for building your home, right? If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. You can have the idea of how you want to build your house, but if you don't have a blueprint, how are others going to know where you need to get, right? Or what the end design is going to look like, right? So make sure that you have a plan, whether it's building a house, or whether it's your own individual life plan, or your plan for improving your own set of skills. That you make sure that you have a plan, right? And a lot of people get involved with leadership for, I think, the wrong things, or they have the wrong concept of what being a leader is. And people think that leadership is simply telling people what to do, and that in itself makes you a good leader, right? But no, leadership is more than just being able to tell someone what to do. Leadership really is a whole set of things, right? Number one, I don't care who you are, you have to have integrity, right? You have to be able to cast that vision and show people, not only physically, but show them through your own vision and your own passion, what you want to accomplish, right? You have to know how to use influence, whether it's your own, or whether it's others' influence, to make sure that you achieve your goals, right? You have to understand how to use power, or perceived power. And I think, in developing your leadership skill or style, that you have to constantly and consistently praise your team. You're not doing the work that you're doing simply because of you. There's others involved, whether it's in your learning, in your capacity building, in your coworkers, that you need to appreciate them, right? You also, I think, need to be very aware of who you are, right? What your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your likes are, what your dislikes are, where you need help, right? What makes you tick, what sets you off. Being emotionally intelligent is very important, right? Self-awareness is one of those things that that lacks a lot of times. But the more you know yourself, the better off you'll be able to use that to your advantage in order for you to have the outcomes that you desire. Right? And in being, I think, a great leader, we need to improve our communication skills. And I think the first lesson in communication is learning to listen first and speak last. Yes. Listen first and speak last, because you need to understand the issue. You need to understand the problem. You need to understand the barrier before you're able to address it. Build your capacity to understand it in order to address it. So listen first and speak last. And I think I've already said it. When it comes to praising your own team, but this is also part of that, and that's showing empathy, right? That's truly showing empathy for your audience or the work that you're doing. Have a heart, right? And that goes back to the analogy I made with building a house. You got to make sure that you have that fireplace, right, so that you stay warm and you stay humble, and you do the work because you care. Don't do the work because the money is good, right? In leadership development, I think that there are certain things that you must have, or things that you must learn as part of your skill building set. And in working with youth and working with adults, I find it necessary to have certain competencies in order for you to be successful. I can ramble them off or list them, but there's quite a few. Note taking. Wherever it is that you are, whatever it is that you're doing, it's always important to paper and pencil, make sure that you know how to take proper notes so that you understand your own notes. Make sure that you are keeping your schedule, whether it's a physical schedule or on your smartphone. Make sure that you have a professional email. Don't use your personal email for business. Nobody wants to go to my baby mama at yahoo.com, right? My baby daddy at gmail.com. No. Use a professional email and have a professional email for all of your work. Make sure that you are constantly either reviewing or constantly setting goals for yourself and for the work that you're doing, right? So goal setting. Make sure that you are understanding and building your capacity to be able to have emotional control. Your emotional intelligence. Are you able to control your emotions when it comes to working with a set population? And are you able to have an influence or control or guidance in their emotions when it comes to working with a certain population or a certain issue? Financial literacy. Understand how the world of money works, right? Understand what credit is, understand what budgeting is. That'll help improve your personal life. That'll help improve your organization's well-being. Know how to conduct research. And we're talking about old school, whether it's going to the library or going online, okay? Know how to conduct research using all the tools available to you. One of the competencies to become successful too is understanding and following your own personal values. Very important also to have a strong support network, right? Hang around with like-minded people. Socialize with like-minded people, right? And I hope that these are positive influences rather than negative influences, right? Get rid of all the negative influences in your life And sometimes that even means family. Be aware of all the community resources. You'll need to know what community resources are out there that would have a direct impact on your goals, your outcomes, whether it's for your personal outcomes or organizational outcomes. You must be able to define leadership for yourself. What does leadership mean to you, right? I define leadership for myself, and leadership for myself is ensuring that I make sure that things go right for me, my family, my job, and ultimately the community, right? Those three areas. Make sure that we are learning the best of communication skills, and the best of communication skills starts with listening. Make sure that you are an effective listener. Another big part of it is public speaking. Always look to improve your public speaking skills, because you're going to be out there, most of the time, trying to cast your vision so that people believe in your mission. Invest time in learning how to build your skills in group processes, how it is that you facilitate a group meeting, a team meeting, one-on-ones, what have you. So that's understanding how small group meetings work and various processes in dealing with small groups or large groups. Right? It's important to understand and have a knowledge of government and how government works, from the federal to the state to the county to the local municipality and community itself. You have to understand how, depending on the work that you're doing, if you're working in gang intervention or prevention, that you have a license to operate per se in that community, right? That you have the blessing of them, and understand how the local gangs work and operate before you just put yourself or others in the mix. Make sure that you yourself are registered to vote, right? You can't talk about leadership if you're not showing leadership, right? Understand how media works, whether that's all of your social media or how media outlets work. So more specifically, how do you get your message across, right? How do you write a press release? How do you write a media release? It's very important to know and to understand in order for you to get your message out to a larger audience, if that's the case. Along with research, and we're talking about researching and getting data for the work that you're doing, but also very important to know how to research very specific issues, right? Issue-based research. Trustworthy places or organizations where you can get research on very specific issues. Right? Wikipedia is not the first thing that you should be relying on when it comes to researching a specific issue or anything, really, right? Because that's all based on personal opinion. One of the competencies for success, or anybody in leadership development must have, I think, is service. You have to be a person who is willing to serve before you can lead. Maintain service at the heart of everything that you do. Involve yourself with community service projects, and involve yourself with volunteering your time, your effort, your knowledge, your experience, your expertise to people or to organizations, right? And with that comes cultural competency. Build your own understanding of the audience that you are working with. Are you culturally competent to work with that population? Do you understand their norms, their traditions, their values? Because some of those come into play when it comes to dealing with certain issues, and we have to know how to navigate those, right? So that you don't put your foot in your mouth. Understand the community that you're working with, right? So you need to ensure that you know how to do what's called community mapping. and be able to identify a community and then identify its resources, whether it's on paper or by memory, right? But at least have the wherewithal to be able to say, I can map my community. These are the high crime rate areas. These are the high traffic areas. These are the the areas of need, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Community mapping is so very wide and so very diverse. But there are tools online that you can use to create a digital map with all that information. That includes hospitals, educational systems. Right? You can map it however you want it, but it'll help you identify what resources are available to you in that particular community, depending on the issue that you're dealing with. And I think you must to round it off. I mean, and we can go on and on and on, but I think in the list of competencies for success, then you must also know how to organize events, right? Because in the work that you're doing, you're not organizing a small team of 3, 4, 5 at work, but hopefully that you're organizing a community to do the work so that you improve the quality of life for whatever it is that you're looking at. So going back on some of these competencies for success, I think for me, it all starts with self-awareness, right? You really need to understand what your hopes and dreams are, what your needs are, right? Because we all need to improve somewhere, right? Whether it's physical needs or educational needs or what have you. We all have needs. It's important to recognize your skills. What are you good at? And also recognize what are you missing and what are you not so good at so that you improve. Right? You have to understand and know what your personal interests are. Things that you like, things that you don't like. What set of values do you have? What set of values have you grown up with, and are you using those in your daily life, whether it's personal or work? And knowing your worth, right? Valuing yourself as part of those values, and knowing what you bring to the table is also very, very important, and valuing yourself as a person and as a tool for others. And then, of course, look at your hopes and dreams. What are your aspirations, right? That's all part of being self-aware so that you can truly, truly have an impact on the work that you're doing, because you know who you are. You know what you want, and you know where you're headed. So with self-awareness comes, yourself and your ability to manage yourself and your ability to manage your relations effectively. And that all involves emotional intelligence, right? It's the ability to manage your emotions or manage the emotions of others so that you can have a good relationship with yourself and with others, right? So become a master in being self-aware, right? Be self-aware of what ticks you off. Be self-aware of what gets a rise out of you, so that you're able to learn strategies in order to, right, go from a 10 to a 4, to a 1. Know how to self-regulate. Know how to count to 10, right? Mentally or physically, however it is that you want to live it. Learn to motivate yourself, right? Become a master at motivation. What drives you to get excited about what you're doing and what you want to do? By the same token, make sure that you're empathetic and you have feelings for what others are going through, so that you can help them get and achieve the level that you're at, right? To be self-motivated and to help regulate their emotions, that will in turn regulate or help you self-regulate your very own emotions. And these are all social skills. These are all part of the social skills. So make sure that you're building on your social skills to become emotionally intelligent, because you're going to be out there, you're going to be working with individuals, you're going to be working with groups, you're going to be working with teams, you're going to be working with institutions, so that you know how to navigate socially. So building your social skills is very important, and that's as simple as I'm going to say it. It's as simple as eating at a fancy dinner, right? It's knowing what tools to use when. That's part of it. Right? And then, of course, make sure that your values are. I'm not going to say extensive, but that you understand your values, that you know how you're raised, and you know what needs to be done, and you know how you should be out in the world, right? So be loving and caring, be community oriented, make sure that you're always looking to personally develop yourself, that your faith has something to do with it, your reputation has something to do with it. Things might be in style, right? It might be a novelty, but make sure that has a place, that you value job security, that you value knowledge, that you value loyalty, that you value your leadership skills, that you value your independence, that you value your competition, right? Don't hate your competition, value your competition, because they drive you to help you become better, right? Value law and order, value privacy, value friendship, value stability, value your close relationships, right? Appreciation, it's huge. So make sure that your values are playing a huge role when it comes to becoming a very emotionally intelligent person, and self-awareness. And always look to elevate your game when it comes to success. You're going to hear podcasts, you're going to hear, right? Fancy schmancy stages, fancy videos, music, yelling, screaming, right? It's all part of the motivational stuff. But I think the only way you can elevate your game to be successful is by practicing the tenets that I shared with you. And along with that, I do highly recommend a book that I read that has helped me to become, I think, a little more successful in getting my message across all levels, whether it's local, county, state, federal, and on the world stage, is a book called The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. And it's, being impeccable with your word. Always use your best words. Never take things personally. It's not because of you, right? Never make assumptions. Things don't happen because of you. And I think I like the fourth one hugely great. It's always do your best. No matter what it is, always do your best. No matter how menial you think the job was, the task that was given to you was, always do your best. If you were assigned to pick up trash after an event, well, make sure that they notice it, right? So do the best that you can. So I think that's a great way of elevating your game to be successful. And once I think we agree on all this, raise your bar. At this, from this moment forward, raise your bar. What are your expectations of yourself? Because we have expectations of others, but what expectations do you have of yourself? And again, in leadership development, it's always looking to build your skills, building your tool chest, making your tool chest a lot bigger and better, so that you're able to, at the end of the day, get what you want. Get back to work, get back to play, get back to whatever it is that you were doing, but always take the time to take a break. So